Tonight, more than a century of history up in smoke.
There was just everything. There was nothing to be seen, just flames.
A major fire burns down a big part of a family farm. Plus, tornado season touching down.
It was the loudest sound I've ever heard.
The cleanup in Lucan after a twister tore through. And downtown detours all summer long.
That's ridiculous, man. It's a waste of time.
The latest construction update on Wellington.
CTV News with Carlyle Fiset.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Multiple Lambton County fire departments were called to a large barn fire last night. Flames and smoke visible for miles around. Sean Irvin has more on the significant emergency response working into the early morning hours.
Hours after it was extinguished, smoke billows from a Lambton County barn. A fire broke out here shortly after 8:30 p.m. Property owners John and Marion Lennon rushed to the scene on Petrolia Line from their main residence a short distance away. They arrived in time to witness the fast-moving blaze.
And it was just engulfed in flames. There was just everything. There was nothing to be seen, just flames.
Led by Petrolia firefighters, 4 departments responded to the blaze. They were on scene until 4 a.m. The area fire chief reports one member was taken to the hospital suffering from heat exhaustion. No one else was injured, including the nearby tenants of a home on the property. Firefighters also managed to keep flames away from operating grain silos located just meters from the burning barn.
That was miraculous, for sure. It was miraculous that they were able to, yes.
We farmed here. We had a number of cattle here for a number of years. We did a lot of operations out of this barn, and it's about a lot of history for my husband. That was his whole life. And just to kind of see it go this way was kind of sad.
And John, do you have any idea how old it was?
Oh, I imagine it's 125 years old at least.
The barn was built by John's great-grandfather. It was out of the family for decades until he bought it back in 1983. Now reduced to rubble, a chapter will end. Thankfully, the family is insured.
So we will move on, and hopefully better things will come. It's just a sad day to see it go like this, but, you know, it is what it is.
Damage has been estimated at $500,000. The cause is listed as undetermined. West of Petrolia, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
Grey Bruce OPP are reporting what they're calling a significant drug bust. They say they began investigating suspected drug trafficking in Southgate back in May. They now say they've seized more than $10,000 worth of drugs along with weapons and cash. 3 people, all from Dundalk, face numerous drug and weapon charges. Sarnia police announced the results of a one-day operation targeting a range of offenses, including public drug use. Rita Ismail has more on the arrests made and the motivation behind the enforcement crackdown.
On June 30th, the Sarnia Police Service deployed a special task force for a one-day enforcement blitz.
The whole focus of the day was really to look for criminality across the city that is impacting the quality of life of our residents. This includes open drug use, this includes social disorder issues, and some of these types of challenges that are very frustrating for our community.
5 people were arrested for open drug use. One of them was charged with drug trafficking after police found him mid-transaction in a stairwell. A search led to seizure of fentanyl and hydromorphine. Several others were arrested on outstanding warrants, including for break and enter, mischief, theft, and robbery, and 3 more were turned over to other police services.
These are complex problems, but the police aren't the solution. However, we are going to catch at the end of the day when all those other systems are unable to stop a crime or get a person to where they need to be. It's going to fall to us, unfortunately.
Chief Davis says one arrest happened after a Sarnia officer recognized a suspect from a London police alert.
Having seen the London police alert, driving down the street, looked over and spotted him.
That suspect was 48-year-old Kenneth Andrew Carruthers, wanted on a Canada-wide warrant. Sarnia Mayor Mike Bradley says while police are stepping up to tackle the issue of open drug use, more help is needed from higher levels of government.
We believe the police need to take that role on. However, the bigger issue is the housing issue and the overall other issues that are creating the policing issues. And we've got to get at all those things. I still don't think the federal and provincial governments have ratcheted ratcheted up their games to the level to help municipalities get through this right across this country. And that's what's critical.
In total, police made 13 arrests during the sweep. And although there isn't a policy in place for open drug use in Sarnia, they say similar enforcement efforts are likely in the future. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
London police say they're looking for a man wanted on human trafficking charges. They say 42-year-old Corey Robert Fowler is wanted for trafficking people under the age of 18. According to police, the Woodstock man met a teen online and then started a relationship with her. He reportedly suggested she become a sex worker and started advertising for her service on social media. Police say the woman later told Fowler she no longer wanted to do sex work and he assaulted her, leading to today's charges. Lambton OPP say they're investigating a pair of recent drownings at Ipperwash Beach. They say they were called Sunday evening for someone who had dove into shallow water and become unresponsive. Police say the 44-year-old was taken to hospital but did not survive. And on Monday, an 18-year-old from London drowned while a 12-year-old was pulled from the water who was taken to hospital for precautionary reasons. Western University tornado researchers are in Lucan assessing the damage from a recent storm. There's damage to crops, farm property, and trees assessed as an EF0 twister. Brent Lale reports.
There's some markings in the crops here. Tornado went through, left a very clear path. You can see it really well from the drone. Also, there's trees here that had big branches snapped.
A research team from the Northern Tornadoes Project is assessing the damage from an EF0 tornado north of London.
It was the loudest sound I've ever heard.
Brenda Hawkins and her family have a big cleanup ahead after the tornado went through her farm property.
You can see back at the tree line there that's where it went through. Lots of tin from the old barns that was a little bit loose that just gathered. I thought for sure the whole thing was going to be going. But yeah, there's a little bit of cleanup.
The tornado quickly came through Lucan Monday afternoon. Some residents are questioning why a weather alert wasn't sent out before the storm.
To be perfectly clear on the timeline, the funnel cloud was spotted at 3:25, and Environment Canada didn't put out the notification to 3:49. It was over and done with. So we can only notify on our social media channels if we have the alert from Environment Canada.
In a perfect world, every single tornado that happens in Canada, would have a warning beforehand. Hopefully one day we can get to that, but it is quite difficult to do that for these weaker events like this one. So would it be nice if this one was warned? Absolutely, and hopefully we reach something close to that one day.
In their early assessment, the researchers believe there could have been more than one tornado. They will take their evidence back to the office to analyze. And while they do their work, officials in Lucan think there's lessons to be learned.
The next time our emergency control group gets together, we'll kind of talk about what happened and the timeline and what was in our control and how we can serve our residents better in the event that we're faced with another weather emergency.
Before then, the Hawkins family will begin picking up the pieces left behind. Thankful it missed their home and other barns.
It could have been a lot worse.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
Good evening. We have severe weather or the potential for severe weather moving through the area this evening. We have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect in through Middlesex County, Elgin, stretching into Lambton, Chatham-Kent, and towards Windsor, Essex. So the area lit up in yellow. Now, there have been a few showers and thunderstorms popping up in the area. Not everyone will see storms. These are quite isolated in nature, but when they come through, they can really pack a punch. We've just had one moving in and around the Dorchester area. It is moving eastward toward Ingersoll. Over the next couple of hours, there is the potential for storms, so we'll take a look at that. Conditions across our region have been beautiful, though, except these storms that have been popping up this evening. A bit of a dip in the temperature in London right now at 23, and that's just with the recent rainfall. Coming up, I'll take you through the extended forecast. A great week ahead. I'll have your local weather details in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Julie. Officials with one of London's newest affordable housing builds say construction is still on track despite the challenges posed once excavation began earlier this year. With more on the project's timeline for welcoming residents, here's Daryl Newcomb.
100 people. Roger Caranci and Claudio DiVincenzo of Residenza Affordable Housing offer an inside look at construction of the charity's third building.
Those are called tiebacks.
The pit at the corner of Colburn and Hill Streets is approaching 35 feet deep, a necessary first step before constructing this 5- and 11-story building. It'll have 184 one- and two-bedroom apartments offered at a mix of affordable and market rents. That includes 35 barrier-free accessible units, as well as common areas and a rooftop amenity space along Hill Street.
Knowing that we're building affordable housing at the end is the end goal, and watching the progress it's actually fulfilling, but also it's pretty neat to watch.
Residents of Victoria is part of Village Soho, that ambitious plan by 6 nonprofit housing providers to create almost 700 mixed affordability units on the former hospital lands. But the big dig hasn't been without its challenges, including an enormous amount of groundwater that flows across the site.
There's basically a river underground here. We currently have a permit to pump 4 million liters of water out a day. Some days we get 300,000, 400,000. We've installed 4 wells to handle the water, and once we waterproof, then we'll be able to have a permanent well within the building that will continue to pump water.
The excavation will also allow the creation of 2 levels of underground parking for 120 vehicles. The building will also have some surface parking as well as some EV charging stations for the tenants.
We might be out of the ground by January. That'll be at street level, and we're looking to open in the spring to summer of 2028.
Residenza Affordable Housing has previously opened Residenza Italia and Residenza Ortona on Hamilton Road. Daryl Newcomb, CTV News.
Residents in Midwestern Ontario are pushing back against proposed gravel pits in their communities, concerned for their property values and the potential environmental impact. With more, here's Scott Miller.
Judy Smelko and Alan Ashton are not pleased about the prospects of 2 new gravel pits moving into their community and within a few hundred meters of the Saugeen River.
It's the location. It's in a horrible location. It's surrounded on 3 sides by the Saugeen River and directly impacts the floodplain.
2 new gravel pit applications and the proposed expansion of another, all within a kilometre of the Saugeen River, has raised the ire of those living near the proposed developments in between Durham and Hanover. Ashton says residents are not only worried about the impacts on the local environment, they're worried about the impacts on them.
Published studies already show that if you're within a half a kilometre of a gravel pit, you're devalued by 25% or more.
Ashton and Smelko, who are members of the Saugeen Preservation Society, aren't alone. An Ontario Land Tribunal hearing started today regarding a proposed gravel pit in Huron County. The proposed pit would harvest gravel from within a few hundred meters of the Maitland River near the iconic Balls Bridge and surrounding wetlands. Smelko says their group is asking West Grey Council to create a 1-kilometre buffer zone around the Saugeen River so no gravel pits could be developed that close to the precious resource.
It's our greatest asset, so make it a priority and put a setback. You can't develop that close to the river with these kinds of operations.
Smelko says there are currently 29 aggregate licenses in West Grey that are allowed to take as much as 7.9 million tons of gravel each year. In 2023, Smelko says only 750,000 tons was taken, so using the licenses already in place makes much more sense than opening and expanding more pits.
You can't take this amount of gravel out and expect nothing to happen. You take off the topsoil and you have a direct line into the groundwater.
Gravel pit proponents say that Ontario simply needs more gravel to make the roads and buildings that our economy is counting on for growth. They say there are stringent protections in place to ensure pits aren't placed where they shouldn't be, and rules about rehabilitating old sites. But for those fighting pit placement in both Huron and Grey County today, there's a feeling that there's a dig first and ask questions later mentality growing across the province.
We've got the cards stacked against us, but we're not going to stop fighting.
Near Durham, Scott Miller, CTV News.
For the second time in less than a week, emergency crews were called to downtown Wheatley because of a strong gas smell. As Chris Campbell reports, it was the same area hydrogen sulfide was detected just days earlier.
Around 5 o'clock on Canada Day, a strong odor was noticed near the Wheatley Library by a passerby who quickly called for help. Within minutes, emergency crews were on scene.
This was exactly what we were asking for. We asked people if they smelled gas or if there was any issues, they should call us, and that's exactly what they did.
It's the second time gas was detected at this location in 5 days. The source is still under investigation, but experts say it's likely connected to old oil and gas wells below the surface.
We always say that we get paid to worry so you don't have to, which I don't think would be fair for the people in Wheatley who are living with this concern, this obvious concern. As you've heard from us, from the province, this is a major issue with over 20,000 known wells in Ontario.
So this legacy is going to haunt us for generations to come as we find these old wells that are undocumented, one after another. And Wheatley is just the most recent example of this process.
For residents like Ron Shaw, who lives in town, the reappearance of gas, even in small amounts, is unsettling.
People are on edge right now because of it. If they smell anything at all, they're certainly going to say something. We'll just have to wait and see.
The moment you smell rotten eggs, there's an issue. But the good thing is that our noses are extremely sensitive and we can detect rotten egg smell down to less than 1 part per million.
Chatham-Kent Fire and Rescue says public safety remains a top priority. Officials are still determining if the Wheatley Library will reopen as planned on Thursday.
We will work to deal with this specific well. We'll work to either put a stack on it or to permanently close it as the investigations continue. But I think this is something that we will be planning for and living with for some time, for smells of gas and potentially finding unknown wells or wells that are leaking, and be able to deal with them without causing too much concern to the community and without causing too much disruption. But we always err on the side of caution.
Chris Campbell, CTV News.
Emergency responders say a construction crew hit a gas line in downtown London this morning, causing traffic delays and evacuations. People were told to leave their homes and workplaces along Talbot Street as emergency crews blocked off road access and rerouted traffic. Officials say repairs took until the mid-afternoon before the area was fully back up and open. Wellington is now closed for the rest of the summer from Horton to King for construction. Brian Bicknell has more on the latest phase of the bus rapid transit project.
More noise, more dust, and more navigating around the all too familiar orange and black cones.
That's ridiculous, man. It's a waste of time. Everyone wasting time here. It took me now half an hour to go to Eden Avenue. It's just 3 minutes from here.
The southern gateway to downtown, Wellington Street from Horton to King, is closed again in both directions, including the underpass. Construction that began last year carries on. The one small business in that stretch is asking customers for some understanding.
Advise them that, everything is under construction, but it's been like that now for months, years. So, everyone's kind of used to it, but it's just unfortunate.
Just up the road, they're setting up for a busy weekend at Victoria Park with Sunfest. The event is expecting 100,000 visitors. Organizers say give yourself extra time to get there.
Hopefully Google Maps or Waze, they update a little bit, but obviously find other routes in, come in through Highbury Hamilton or coming through Rideout Street. Those are our options right now, but it's a little tricky with Clarence there being closed off as well.
And Dundas Place will bustle with activity throughout the summer. Tourism London says the party rolls on in spite of construction.
The Dundas Place is perfectly equipped for pedestrian traffic, whether it's walking from a downtown hotel or cycling in. But it might be good to incorporate a little bit of extra time in your commute.
The latest Wellington Street closure is actually part of York Street infrastructure renewal. Aging sewer systems are being replaced to improve drainage capacity and keep up with population growth.
Replacing a deep 1850s brick and mortar combined sanitary sewer. And the depth and the scale of the excavation makes it impossible to maintain traffic through the intersection while this work is underway. Given that it is the summertime and we see smaller traffic volumes, this is a good opportunity of us to try to get this work done.
Wellington from Horton to King will be closed through Labor Day weekend. Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
Coming up, it's the Tee Up with Brent Lail. Details on the developing reputation in St. Thomas for producing elite-level cyclists.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We begin tonight with Ontario's latest.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. ctvlondon.ca, your home for news.
Well, welcome back. It's time for the Tee Up with Brent Lail. Brent, the hockey off season is peaking right now. NHL free agency kicked off yesterday. The NHL draft was last week. And today, the CHL's import draft.
Yeah, the London Knights, they never seem to be rebuilding, but after losing a lot of players, they will need some retooling. With teams allowed 3 import players now, the London Knights used all their rounds this afternoon. At 58 overall, they grabbed Linus Funk, who was just a 4th-round pick by the Colorado Avalanche. They grabbed Swede Marcus Nordmark, a top-ranked player in next year's draft, and 16-year-old Maxim Solikovsky, who has committed to the University of Maine.
And Brent, a local ball hockey player, is back from an international competition with a gold medal.
Yeah, Peyton Daly captained Canada to a championship at the United World Games in Austria.
Be able to take that trophy for my team and bring it to them was just an incredible feeling to be able to get that opportunity to wear the C on my jersey.
Daly is back in London after a Canadian squad won a 3-on-3 gold medal against Slovakia in the U18 division. The Western University student led the young women to a dramatic shootout win in the final. The former ice hockey player for the London Devilettes has now traded her blades for ball hockey sneakers full-time.
It's my first time ever playing in this big of a tournament, and to be able to say that we came back as world champions is just incredible. And I'm really looking forward to playing women soon and the sport growing in general.
A local basketball player has landed a job in the NBA.
Yeah, Malachi Endur had dreams of playing basketball at the highest level, but after that didn't pan out, he's taken a different route to the NBA. The St. Thomas native has accepted a job with the Washington Wizards in player development and also as a video coordinator. His role will include getting on the court and developing and preparing players throughout the season. The graduate of Brown University and William & Mary is off to the NBA Summer League, and after that, he'll return home to run a basketball camp at the end of the month.
One of Canada's all-time best race car drivers was back in the winner's circle this week.
Yeah, DJ Kennington has won 25 times on the NASCAR Canada Series, but had a drought dating back to 2022. That is now over.
DJ Kennington, a winner in the NASCAR Canada Series in 2025. He will take top spot.
He took the checkered flag this weekend in Nova Scotia at Riverside International Speedway. He's now back home with the trophy in hand after using a new race car for his first win since Saskatoon 3 years ago.
I'm just happy for the sponsors and everybody that sticks with me. You know, you start doubting yourself, you know, and I know it. We've known each other a long time and we're not getting any younger. So it's one of those things where you start doubting if you can still get it done and so on. But the guys all stuck with me and built a brand new hot rod this year, and it's been awesome so far. I mean, it's only one race, but we're going to try to keep improving and see if we can't get it even better.
And finally, Brent, there's quite a pipeline of elite cyclists coming out of St. Thomas.
Yeah, 3 of them are headed to the Junior Track Worlds in the Netherlands later this summer. We caught up with a pair of them who are training in preparation for the prestigious event.
My name's Eve Bukowski. I race for Milton U23 Project.
My name is Brody Mann, and I am a second-year junior racing for Ignite Junior Cycling.
The pair are set to compete at the Junior Track Worlds. Mann, who will be competing in the individual pursuit, team pursuit, and elimination, is very familiar with Europe.
I've been to Europe so many times now. It's almost like a second home.
Bukowski's trip will be a much different experience.
I'm actually so excited. It's going to be my first time at a World Championship, and I've never been to Europe.
Eve earned her spot by setting a junior pursuit world record. However, it only held for 7 minutes before fellow St. Thomas native Alex Fanget topped it 1 heat later.
It was definitely unexpected. Like, I go into it and I'm not really thinking of a world record. I'm just thinking of a personal best, and then getting off the track and hearing the words world record was just amazing.
The pair, along with Fanget, are just returning from Quebec, where they competed in the Canadian Road Cycling Championship. They each raced in 3 events. Mann reached the podium in 1, while Bukowski's top finish was a 4th.
It's really weird going from, track to road and then back to track in a season that usually will just go track and then to road, and then we're off for a little bit.
The Cycling Worlds take place at the end of August in the Netherlands. Brent Lale, CTV News.
Back on the desk with Julie now as we're watching that story. Peek outside our studio here, and you used the word ominous to describe at least the conditions right now, or what it looks like in South London.
Yes.
Kind of whack-a-mole right now when it comes to the storms, though, across the region.
Well, they are popping up, so until they start to really develop, you can't really track where they're going to appear. They are popping up in our area, starting to see some action, some heavier storms actually just out over Lake Huron. Now, in terms of our Grand Bend beach cam, you can still see lots of people out enjoying the beautiful evening on the beach. However, some storms may put a damper on that. 28 degrees are high today, 15 degrees are low. So temperatures right around where we should be for this time of year. It was really beautiful this afternoon. 24 degrees right now in London, Midwestern Ontario, 24 to 26, and some hot spots, Sarnia toward Windsor. We have a humidex feeling like the low 30s across the area, and we have a weak front that's just trying to drop in well off to the northwest. So as we take a look at the satellite radar right now, you can see the storms, and as Carlyle mentioned, they are bubbling up in and around the area, but not like along a cold front, so difficult to pinpoint exactly where they will materialize. We've got these storms right now coming into the northern part of Huron County, and then some storms right now moving and blowing through the London area. Just in the last hour, we've had storm reports towards the London airport, just indicating that we do have thunderstorms moving through. So you can see this is a front that's well off to the northwest. That's going to slowly sink southward as we head through the overnight and into tomorrow, but the main threat of storms will end by midnight. It'll be quiet overnight. First thing tomorrow morning, we could see a shower. Risk window will be between about 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., although the probability is on the lower end at about a 30% chance. That's as that front's going to slump through. As we take a look across Canada tonight, it is hot in Western Canada. We have some heat advisories in effect and some severe weather moving through. A myriad of warnings to show you tonight. Everything's from severe thunderstorm watch to some air quality issues across the northern part of Manitoba and central Saskatchewan. Heat advisories indicated by the pink, so lots of active weather right across the prairies. Overnight, patchy fog developing. So first thing in the morning, we could have a bit of fog as well. Temperature-wise, we dip down between 15 and 16 degrees along the lakeshore, anywhere from 18 to about 19, with a warmer spot toward Long Point at 20 degrees. So chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms rapidly drops off anytime after about 9 to 10 o'clock. As soon as the sun sets, we lose a lot of that daytime heating fuel. That, of course, helps spark some of these storms. As we move into your Thursday morning, possibility of a few spotty showers towards Grey and Bruce County, but the rest of the region looks clear, back into a nice mix of sun and cloud, and just some beautiful weather on the way as we wrap up the week. Just as gorgeous, especially I know lots of people have holidays and planning vacations in Southern Ontario, and if you're on a staycation right now, I'm sure you're enjoying the beautiful conditions. Heading into your Thursday afternoon, it's going to be cooler, especially towards Bayfield, right along that shoreline of Lake Huron, so Port Franks, Grand Bend, you're going to have a northerly wind, and that will keep conditions a bit fresh. But as we head toward London, KW, Mount Forest, anywhere from 23 to 26 degrees. So your Thursday forecast, a mix of sun and cloud to start your day. The temperature by noon hour 25 will hit 26 in the afternoon, and a northwest wind developing. So I mentioned keeping things a bit cooler. When a northwest wind comes off Lake Huron, it keeps those communities quite fresh. So we head into your Friday with sunshine and 28. The heat moving back in Carlyle this weekend, 31 Saturday into Sunday with a chance of showers on Sunday. It'll feel like the upper 30s, low 40s. It is going to be a sticky weekend. Mix of sun and cloud Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 26 to 27 degrees. This is the weather many of us wait for and hope for this summer season. The next couple of days will be beautiful. The humidity not extremely oppressive. That won't happen until we hit the weekend, Saturday into Sunday, where daytime highs are expected to climb to about 30 degrees. Showers in the forecast Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, mix of sun and cloud and 26. That's a nice forecast for this time of year. We have a couple days of some intense heat and humidity, but getting there through the rest of the week, things looking beautiful.
All right, Julie, thanks very much. Still ahead, the do's and don'ts of dish soap, the everyday product with more uses than you might realize. A sit-down meeting today between Prime Minister Mark Carney and Canada's top auto sector executives. That conversation as the clock ticks toward a deadline to reach a trade deal with the U.S. by July 21st. Mike Lucatua reports.
Inside the Prime Minister's office, Mark Carney huddled for an hour with the Canadian CEOs of GM, Ford, Stellantis, and the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association. When it was done, François-Philippe Champagne said little about the discussion.
We had a very good meeting talking about the industry, and we've been very, very clear. We're always going to be there to support the workers and the industry.
He refused to say whether or not the federal government will keep the electric vehicle mandate. By next year, 20% of new passenger vehicles sold in Canada must be either battery-powered or hybrid. It was something car makers clearly wanted to discuss ahead of the meeting.
EV mandate itself is not sustainable. The targets that have been established cannot be met, and that will be part of the discussion.
Those in the industry say EVs currently account for 9% of total sales. And if they fall short, Flavio Volpe says it's the car companies that pay.
And to sell regular combustion units, they've got to buy a credit from some company that's earned it or spend $20,000 per unit on charging infrastructure.
On top of that, those same car companies continue to deal with 25% tariffs from the U.S. Now, there is a carve-out for components that are built in America through the integrated supply chain. Still, Canadian auto exports in the U.S. fell by 23% in April.
They make 6 or 7% a year of profit. If there is a tariff in for 5, 10, 25%, it makes those operations untenable.
According to a readout from the Prime Minister's office, the meeting also looked at ways to make Canada's auto sector more sustainable and competitive in the face of shifting trading relationships, something that could be more urgent if Canada isn't able to strike a trade deal with the U.S. in the next 19 days. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
For the first time in the last 2 years, employment data shows the U.S. losing jobs. The research comes from a payroll firm, ADP, which says America shed 33,000 private sector jobs last month. Economists had predicted more than 100,000 jobs added in that time. The numbers suggest rising uncertainty under the president's tariff policies, causing employers to freeze hiring. Canned food retailer Del Monte has filed for bankruptcy, looking for a buyer. The 138-year-old company announced it was voluntarily entering Chapter 11, going through a sales process for its assets. Company officials blame declining consumer demand, leading to increased costs for surplus inventory. Consumer Reports experts are out with their picks for the best dish soap, a product which may be more versatile than you realize. With more, here's Pat Foran.
Dishwashing liquid is a cleaning workhorse that doesn't just tackle your dirty dishes. Got hair dye on your skin? Grab a small amount of baking soda and some dish soap. Need to clean your makeup brushes? Dish soap's got you. Just add 1 part olive oil. It even works wonders to reduce condensation on windows, stop squeaky doors, and clear out a clogged drain. It can also kill those pesky bugs on your plants.
A few teaspoons of dish soap with water in a spray bottle works as a gentle and effective insecticide.
With so many brands and formulations, which one works best on their main job, cleaning dishes? Consumer Reports says there is one standout choice.
The editor's choice was Dawn Ultra Dishwashing Liquid. Its rich suds have kept it ahead of the rest for years.
While dish soap is great for hand washing dishes, it should not be used in your dishwasher. Also, some TikTok suggests using dish soap to brighten your laundry and remove oil stains, but Consumer Reports says this can end up causing problems for your machines.
Using dish soap in a washing machine or dishwasher might seem harmless, but it creates way too many suds, and that can cause leaks, poor cleaning performance, or even damage to the machine over time.
Dish soap is not designed to use on fabrics the way laundry detergent is. A few drops as a spot remover is okay. Just make sure not to use too much, as it can be hard to rinse out. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Canada's main stock index finished slightly higher today. The TSX gained 13 points. In New York, the Dow fell 11. The Nasdaq added 190. The Canadian dollar is up 1/10 cent today. On commodity markets, gold climbed almost $10 an ounce. Oil added $2 a barrel. Later on CTV News, the iconic shoes carrying Terry Fox's Marathon of Hope are brought back for a limited time, raising money for Terry's cause. Welcome back. We have developing news this hour. A notice from provincial police advising drivers to avoid the area of Highway 402 and Centre Road in Strathroy. They say there's been a serious crash causing a slow chemical leak onto the roadway. Police have not specified what the chemical is, but say the road will remain closed until tomorrow morning. St. Thomas police say the death of a teenager Monday was accidental. Police said they were called to a ravine near Hemlock and Elmina Monday morning, where they found the body of 17-year-old CJ Turley. Detectives and forensic investigators were on scene for most of the day, announcing this morning the death has been deemed not suspicious. Tomorrow marks the 37th anniversary for a local cold case. Bruce County native Lois Hannah was last seen alive in July 1988. The 25-year-old went missing after a homecoming dance in Lucknow. Police believe she was murdered, but her body has never been found despite numerous searches. A $50,000 reward is available for anyone with information leading to the discovery of her body. A man in Halifax who admitted to killing his mother last year in a fit of rage has been sentenced to life in prison. Jonathan William Pinsky pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in April. He was sentenced this morning. The conviction comes with an automatic life sentence with no chance of parole for 10 years. The judge found Pinsky attacked his mother in a bizarre and cruel manner, calling her death unjustified. With credit for time served, the earliest Pinsky could get parole is in 9 years. New research on Canadian air quality is shedding light on the impact from wildfire smoke. As Pauline Chan reports, it's not just our breathing affected, but our hearts themselves.
Researchers from the University Health Network were looking at particles known as PM 2.5, particulate matter that is 2.5 micrometers or less in the air.
They actually can cross over into the bloodstream. And of course, the bloodstream then, goes to the heart.
The researchers used MRIs to study how long-term air pollution from wildfires, as well as other sources like cars and industry, affect the heart.
The link or the association between long-term air pollution exposure and scarring in the heart. Scarring, just like you might get if you cut your arm. If you have an injury to part of your body, like the heart muscle, it can heal with scarring. And that can lead to downstream problems, including heart failure.
The postal codes of the 694 participants were used to determine their level of PM 2.5 exposures.
This shows that if you are exposed to more air pollution, even at the relatively low levels that we experience within Ontario currently, you are at higher risk of having a little bit more fibrosis in the heart.
Dr. Kate Hanneman says the effects are subtle.
What we found was women, those who had a history of smoking, and those who had hypertension had the highest risk.
People in the high-risk groups and those with existing heart problems should pay closer attention to air quality levels and avoid staying outside when the pollution is high. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The parent company of Sobeys has become the first retailer signed on to Canada's new Grocery Code of Conduct. The code is intended to promote fair dealings between grocers and suppliers, including penalties and fees, fostering more transparency, fairness, and predictability. Officials have set a January 1st goal for full implementation. Formal registrations just opened this week, and all of Canada's major grocers have expressed support for the voluntary code.
A mix of sun and cloud to mainly sunny as we wrap up the week. Heading into the weekend, a blast of heat and humidity with daytime highs climbing above 30 and feeling like the upper 30s, low 40s. Could see a few showers move through on Sunday. Lots of instability as the temperatures climb. Thank you so much, Andy, for this photo from Sarnia. He captured this rainbow over Moortown Golf Course.
A verdict was returned today after 13 hours of deliberation in the high-profile case against rap mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The jury acquitted him on sex trafficking and racketeering charges, but convicted him for prostitution. And late this afternoon, the judge denied bail. With more, here's Adrian Gabriel.
Waving and smiling, the Combs family exited this New York City federal court. As protesters came face to face with supporters of Sean Diddy Combs, emotions running at a fever pitch, just moments after the jury delivered their split verdict. Delivered on the third day of deliberations, the jury of 8 men and 4 women declared the 55-year-old Combs not guilty of 1 count of racketeering, conspiracy, and 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, but guilty of the lesser charges of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Combs, who's already been incarcerated for 10 months, could still face considerable prison time. At sentencing, each of the prostitution transportation charges carry as much as 10 years behind bars. While Combs' lawyer declined to comment,
saying something soon.
Multiple criminal law experts are declaring today a victory for the former hip-hop mogul.
It's absolutely a win. The defense took a really big gamble going to trial on this case.
The prosecution called 34 witnesses to the stand, multiple ex-girlfriends, including singer Cassie Ventura, who claimed that Combs forced her to engage in sexual encounters called, quote, freak-offs and hotel nights. Jurors watched this 2016 hotel video of Combs dragging and kicking her. Ventura's lawyer stopped short of calling today a victory for his client.
We're pleased that he's finally been held responsible for 2 federal crimes, something that he's never faced in his life. He still faces substantial jail time. Of course, we would have liked to have seen a conviction on the sex crimes in RICO, but we understand beyond a reasonable doubt is a high standard.
With this decision, Combs avoids a possible life sentence. Moments after the verdict was read out, his family began to cheer in the courtroom as the one-time music star appeared to fall to his knees in prayer. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Washington.
Also in Washington, Republicans are pushing for a final vote on President Trump's massive tax cut and spending bill ahead of a July 4th deadline.
I am not inclined to vote for this bill, as based on my understanding coming out of the Senate.
This dangerous and extreme Republican budget will result in Americans losing their lives.
The Senate passed the bill yesterday 51-50 thanks to Vice President J.D. Vance's tie-breaking vote. The legislation contains about $4.5 trillion in tax cuts over the next 10 years. Some Republicans have pushed back on the legislation, which cuts Medicaid, while others in the party say it strays from their foundational fiscal goals. Parts of Europe are dealing with scorching temperatures. 18 cities across Italy are under red alerts for heat. According to the European Union's Climate Change Service, Europe is the world's fastest warming continent, heating up at twice the global average. And the heat has also closed down the Eiffel Tower's summit in Paris. Staff say they're taking measures to ensure comfort and safety for visitors, with temperatures nearing 36 degrees this week. The French government has also issued heat alerts across that country. A stowaway snake was found in a plane's cargo hold, causing a 2-hour delay for a domestic Australian flight. The snake was discovered yesterday as passengers were boarding in Melbourne. It was a harmless green tree snake, a little more than half a meter long, hidden behind a panel, and could have disappeared deeper into the plane. Staff called in a snake catcher to wrangle it before that could happen, though. It's believed the snake came aboard tucked inside passenger luggage, escaping during a previous flight from Brisbane.
London's top stories.
We have breaking news tonight out of Ottawa. The latest in the
breaking news alerts.
I'm tracking an area of severe weather. It'll start.
And watch live.
A development now to a story from City Hall we brought you.
Download the CTV News app.
Welcome back. Finally tonight, a footwear fundraiser in honor of one of this country's most revered citizens. Adidas is releasing a limited edition replica of the shoe worn by Terry Fox during his Marathon of Hope. Josh Smith reports.
A replica of the Adidas Orion shoe worn by Terry Fox during his historic 1980 run will soon be available for purchase for a good cause. It's a product 20 years in the making.
Actually 2005 when the first shoe was released. It was quite amazing to think that what powered the man across Canada had never really been noticed or seen.
Back then, Adidas agreed to make a limited number of pairs which sold out in stores in one day.
Which sounds like a long time, except back then you had to go to the store to buy it.
I think that they're iconic.
Colin McQuaid is a co-founder of the Greater Moncton Running Club. He's excited for the release.
Everything about them has that special meaning when you look at the Terry Fox running. I wonder what it would be like to have run in those shoes.
The Terry Fox Foundation says you don't have to be a runner to find inspiration in the shoes.
I went through 3,000 miles of training before I even got to St. John's. And in that time, I went through losing toenails and shin splints, bone bruises in my feet. Everything's a bit easier than it would be if I hadn't trained so hard. I don't think I would have made it to Halifax.
I think that there's something about that shoe that represents absolute perseverance, determination, sheer force of will. And I think that's what, whether you're an athlete or not, that's kind of what we all need in our lives.
The Terry Fox shoes will go on sale Thursday morning on the Adidas website, with all the proceeds going towards cancer research. Josh Smith, CTV News, Shediac, New Brunswick.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. For your latest local updates, you can always head to our website. I'm back tonight with your late news at 11. Bye for now.